The Canadian House of Parliament isn't typically the venue for bombshell revelations. But yesterday, Justin Trudeau's emergency statement was just that, an explosive accusation that the government of India was involved in the assassination of one of its citizens.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
Hardeep Singh Nijjar was a Sikh separatist leader in British Columbia who was gunned down by masked men outside this Sikh temple in a suburb of Vancouver in June. His murder sparked protests by fellow Sikhs across Canada who blamed the Indian government for his murder. A government that had designated Nijjar as a terrorist in 2020 for allegedly supporting attacks inside India's Punjab region, where Sikhs are trying to form an independent Khalistani state that is distinct from the majority Hindu population. The Canadian government hasn't so far arrested anyone in connection with Nijjar's murder, but Prime Minister Trudeau yesterday urged the Indian government to cooperate in the investigation.
Any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of our sovereignty.
Mr. Trudeau said he raised the killing of Nijjar in no uncertain terms with India's Prime Minister Modi at the G20 in New Delhi earlier this month. Today, the Indian government dismissed Trudeau's allegation as absurd and designed to shift the focus from Khalistani terrorists, who they claim are given shelter in Canada and continue to threaten India's sovereignty.
The Prime Minister raised it with Prime Minister Modi. He raised it with President Biden and Prime Minister Sunak as well. And of course, today we're acting by expelling a key diplomat, but we will get to the bottom of this.
As Canada expelled an Indian diplomat, so India summoned Canada's High Commissioner to the Foreign Ministry and gave him 5 days' notice to leave the country.
Mobs of angry Hindus attacking Sikh businesses.
Tensions between Hindus and Sikhs escalated in the 1980s after the assassination of then Hindu Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, who'd ordered a raid on the holiest of all Sikh temples, where armed militants were known to be sheltering, sparking years of bloody conflict. Justin Trudeau, down, down, these protesters shouted in India today, as an age-old internal conflict now threatens to bring strained relations between India and Canada to a new low.
Friday in the murder of 6 separatist.
3 suspects have been arrested and charged for them.
Canadian police arrested and charged 3 Indian men on Friday in the murder of Sikh separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and said they're probing whether the men have links to the Indian government. The 45-year-old was shot dead last June outside a temple in the western Canadian city of Surrey, which has a large Sikh population. A few months later, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau cited evidence of Indian government involvement, prompting a diplomatic crisis. New Delhi had rejected Trudeau's claim as absurd. Here's Royal Canadian Mounted Police Assistant Commissioner David Taboul.
There are separate and distinct investigations ongoing into these matters, certainly not limited to the involvement of the people arrested today. And these efforts include investigating connections to the government of India.
He added, it's been difficult working with counterparts in India.
Collaboration is rather challenging and difficult for the last several years. However, the RCMP is very committed to continuing to establish a working relationship from a law enforcement to law enforcement agency. So we're going to continue our efforts, but it's been difficult.
Niger was a Canadian citizen campaigning for the creation of Khalistan, an independent Sikh homeland carved out of India. The presence of Sikh separatist groups in Canada has long frustrated New Delhi, which had labeled Niger a terrorist. Police said they had tremendous support from the broader community to investigate what they described as an outrageous and reprehensible murder. The men charged with it include two 22-year-olds, Kamalpreet Singh and Garn Brar, and 28-year-old Garnpreet Singh. RCMP Police Superintendent Mandeep Mukher.
Currently, we believe that there may be others involved, and therefore there may be potential arrests or charges for
A slow-burning diplomatic rift between Canada and India boiled over on Monday. India responded in a tit-for-tat manner after Canada had expelled 6 Indian diplomats as persons of interest in the death of a Canadian citizen.
We will never tolerate the involvement of a foreign government threatening and killing Canadian citizens on Canadian soil. That's why, when our law enforcement and intelligence officials began pursuing credible allegations that agents of the government of India were directly involved in the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, on Canadian soil, we responded.
Nijjar, a Sikh separatist, was gunned down by masked men outside a temple in Canada's British Columbia last June. Nijjar was a supporter of the Khalistan movement, which seeks to create a separate Sikh homeland in Punjab, India. The government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi considers the group an extremist movement. Canadian officials allege high-ranking Indian diplomats gathered intelligence, which led to the murder.
The team has learned a significant amount of information about the breadth and depth of criminal activity orchestrated by agents of the government of India and consequential threats to the safety and security of Canadians.
New Delhi denies the accusations. In a statement, India's foreign ministry slammed Ottawa's investigation.
Since Prime Minister Trudeau made certain allegations in September 2023, the Canadian government has not shared a shred of evidence with the government of India. Despite many requests, this latest step follows interactions that have gained witnessed assertions without any facts. This leaves little doubt that on the pretext of an investigation, there is a deliberate strategy of smearing India for political gains.
But Canada's High Commissioner Stuart Wheeler, who's one of the highest-ranking diplomats to be expelled, disagrees.
Canada has provided credible, irrefutable evidence of ties between agents of the government of India and a murder of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil.